What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So the other day I dropped a video and I was like, hey guys, I got some time coming up after my Esperanto exam. I got some fully sick ideas, for testing language learning, doing some experiments and shit. How about we do a Mandarin experiment? That could be pretty cool. Or maybe I'll do a Latin experiment. Yeah, that sounds pretty freaking sick. You know what? Let's just throw a troll one in there, the Mikel experiment. No one's gonna vote for that. Fuck you guys, seriously. You guys are worse trolls than me. You're just bad, okay? I literally, over the weekend, spent 5 hours of doing Mikel input. And let's just say that this was not pure CI. There was a lot of incomprehensible input in here. But I friggin' spent 5 hours trying to figure out if the Mikel Learn Japanese in 3-month challenge has, anything to it, okay? So I went back. I started watching all of his videos on this challenge. From the first video to, I think, day 21. There was a couple after that, and there was videos missing in between. But I did 5 hours of fucking Mikel input for you guys, okay? So if you haven't subbed already, you better sub for this video. And because you made me do this, because you all wanted to troll me, and you wanted to see if we could do this in 3 months, I'm going to make you sit through 20 minutes of Mikel input, just to give you a taste test of what I went through. But realistically, okay, when I started going through these videos, and I treated this like a serious exercise, I wanted to understand his methods, his ideas, and what we would actually need to do if I was to do this experiment. And I say if I was to do it, because as you're going to see during this video, it doesn't really make sense. Overall, I understand what he was trying to get at, but I could see that the experiment quickly unraveled, okay? So to give you a very high-level summary of what happened during the 21 days of Mikel's experiment and the additional couple of days that, happened at the end there, basically it started with him coming in. He was, cocky as fuck. He was gun-loaded. He was gonna take on the world type of thing, Slapped that meat out, was like, look at this shit. I can do this, and you guys, if you can't do it, well, then you're just weak-ass. You're not an athlete like me. And these are his words, and you're gonna hear these words, okay? But then we hit week 2, and things started to, change, okay? I think reality started to set in some ways, but he was still the Mikel that we all know and love, okay? And then it got kind of worse, and things that he said he wouldn't do early on because, well, you would want to wait until you're at a more intermediate stage, he started kind of doing. And then he became kind of scatterbrained and was just doing random shit, okay? And then by the end of it, it all ends in the most glorious of videos, realistically. It ends with him, and you guys, you gotta watch this video, okay? Wait until the end of this video. You gotta go through all the Mikel input with me. We gotta understand this experiment. But when you get to the end, you'll see it, okay? You'll see it happen live in his face. He goes to kind of prove his level after 20 days. And he sits down and he starts watching a Japanese podcast. And I've checked with my community. This podcast is somewhere between an A2 and a B1 level of Japanese. And let's just say that, it did not go as planned. Okay, so let's begin. Let's hear Mikel's challenge. As you can see on the screen right here, it says Japanese in 3 months experiment.
Let's talk about learning Japanese in 3 months. There's going to be a lot of talk about learning Japanese in 3 months because I'm going to I'm not going to try, I'm going to learn Japanese in 3 months.
Do you see what I mean? It's not like, I'm gonna try. No, I'm gonna learn it. Let's just make sure everyone knows this. For those who are new to the channel and don't understand what's going on here, this challenge that was set by Mikel happened over a year ago. He did not complete the challenge, okay? He did not do the entire 3 months. No one made him do this. No one said, Mikel, you have to do this, but he was out to prove something.
I talk a lot about learning languages fast, and there's always someone in the comments, a bunch of people in the comments, saying that that's impossible, even if there are lots of people who've done it with a bunch of different languages, and there will always be some...
Okay, he's like, yeah, but there's always lots of people who've done it with a bunch of different languages. Well, we can't add Mikel to that list because he ain't done it yet.
Sort of excuse.
Okay, so apparently if we are unable to do the challenge within 3 months, it's because, we're obviously come up with some type of excuse. Mikel, my man, what is your excuse?
This channel is about results. It's not feel good stuff. I'm telling you some nonsense. No. This is, here we learn languages like an athlete, like an elite athlete trains for competition, all right?
Okay, so this is like the direct opposite of ALG or the dreaming Spanish method, okay? This is where you go in on the study side of things fucking hard. We're gonna hit it like an athlete. The problem is Mikel did not get into the linguistic Olympics. Unfortunately, he did not pass the test. There was a 3-month test and we only got to day 21. So I guess, he gave it a good shot, but yeah, it's not exactly, he didn't make it to, let's just say, the qualifying rounds.
Yes, you absolutely can learn a language in 3 months or less.
Okay, well, I'm waiting for it.
And I'm going to conduct a 3-month or 12-week experiment in which I will learn Japanese from scratch.
Okay, so as you saw that, he will learn Japanese from scratch. I'm just going to jump back a little bit here, okay? So as you can see on the screen, let's take a look at this. Let's dive into what he's actually going to do. Now, this is week 1, okay? This is actually day 1 when he's made this video. He's explaining what he's going to do, his plans. Now, the plan that you're seeing on the screen, it goes out the fucking window in week 2. Like, it's just gone. I don't know what happened with it. Like, they had some type of, fight. Someone cheated on someone moved out, I'm not sure. Maybe this was one of those things where, Mikel got caught with an Anki deck at a friggin' concert or something. But right here, you can see he's got 1 to 2 hours a day, not full time. Okay, just 1 to 2 hours. So what is it? So 1 hour, 2 hours, 1.5 hours? I'm guessing it's 1.5 hours if we're going to average it out, okay? And it is over 3 months, but what is 3 months? Is it 90 days or is it 91 days? 92 days? You might be thinking, why are you struggling over, an extra 30 minutes here or an extra day there? Guys, this is 3 months to learn Japanese. I need to know exactly what the specified time is, literally down to the minute, okay? Next, we've got daily updates with specific details. Now, he actually kept that for the first week. The second week, it got spotty. After that, things got bad. Weekly video trying to speak to the camera. He actually did that the first week. He did a video at the end of the first week where he did 1 minute of Japanese, which I think was equal to about 6 sentences, which is manageable realistically, okay? So he did do that, but then after that, we never saw it again. And then we got 1 hour conversation video after 12 weeks. Yeah, no, that no happened. We never saw that, okay? Let's continue.
And at the end of each week, I'll try to talk on camera. It'll be pretty bad the first time, but I'll be able to say a bunch of stuff.
Okay, so we've established at the end of each week, if I were to do this experiment, I'm going to keep saying if I were, okay, at this stage, because I am not committed to this. You'll see why later. But I'd have to speak to camera at the end of each week.
Badly, but I'll be able to say it. Second week, I'll still speak badly, but I'll be able to say way more. And third week, I'll speak even more and better, and so on.
Now, he made it 21 days. So he didn't quite make it to the third week, I guess. Wait, am I mathing that right? I believe I'm mathing that right.
And at the end of the whole 12-week, 3-month period, I'll try to have a 1 hour conversation. Well, I'll have a 1 hour conversation.
I just love how certain he is about this. We'll have a 1 hour conversation. Bruh, where's your 1 hour conversation?
Let's just quantify what I want to do. And then I'll do all of this, 100%. I'll probably do more on this, but you will...
Again, so certain, I will do all of this.
You'll be able to tell.
Guys, every time I say I'm going to do an experiment or something, I don't say I will do this. I say I'm going to strive to do this, okay? I will try to do this. Wow, man, some people, their confidence levels are just through the roof. And right now, I'm just bringing up a calculator because I'm just seeing some numbers here, and I want to math this.
If this amount of work for this amount of language learning work for Japanese.
Okay, so we've got 3-month goals, 1,000 sentences, language islands. So language islands is basically a sentence. It's a full sentence that's based around a specific topic. Usually in this case, specifically with Mikel, it'll be about his life. Okay, so that might be, for example, I was born in, blah, blah, blah year. I'm not going to tell you my date, 1800s. But like, you would just say, that full sentence. And you practice that sentence over and over because it's a relevant sentence to your life. And it's a common thing hyperpolyglots will do is they'll practice just sentence islands because they need to sound really fluent without actually being fluent. And it's a good way of doing it. But he's got 1,000 here. So if we go, 1,000 divided by 90, that means I'm going to be doing 11 language islands per day. That's easily manageable. Okay, we can do that. Now we've got mass sentences, 20,000 sentences with 2,000 verbs, which equals to 20 to 30k unique words. So over the period of 3 months, he's going to do mass sentences. Now, basically for Mikel, what that means, it's related to the second part there of listen and repeat shadowing exercises. So he's just got a giant ass list of sentences which have that are built around 2,000 verbs, and now he's just going to repeat after them. He's going to listen to audio of them, then repeat. Listen, repeat. And then when he says 100,000 reps, that's how many times in 3 months he's going to have to repeat, okay? So let's just have a look. If we just divide that by 90. Bruh. I would have to do 1,111 reps in a day, okay? So that's... How long is a rep, you're probably wondering? How long does it take to say a sentence? That's it, okay? So if the sentence was, I was born in 1800, okay? Well, how long did that take me? I was born in 1800, I was born... that's like, let's say it's 3 seconds, times 3. So now I've got how many seconds this is going to take, okay? So, oh god. Okay, so I've just calculated this out. This means it's going to take me just about an hour, okay? So there's going to be an hour where I sit there just repeating over and over and over. Now, I don't know if you guys have tried this before, okay? I have. It's actually, exhausting. Because this is not okay, listen and repeat exercises aren't so bad. In fact, listen and repeat would take longer because you'd first have to listen to it, and then you'd have to repeat after it. So that's double the time. So that'd be 2 hours, okay? But shadowing would be roughly about an hour every single day, based on the maths just here that I'm seeing, okay? So what I would be doing is, if it was listen and repeat, I'd listen to it, then I'd say the sentence. Listen to it, say the sentence. I'd just be doing that for 2 hours straight. No breaks. At all. Okay? Now, maybe that's manageable. But, could you imagine sitting there for 2 hours doing that? Okay? Now, shadowing, that's exhausting. That's mentally draining because I would be listening to the sentence as I hear it. I'm instantly saying it as well. Okay? And it doesn't stop. It just goes on to the next sentence, on to the next sentence, on to the next sentence. And I'm just trying to repeat after this. I've done shadowing exercises like this. In 5 to 10 minutes of doing this, you are cooked. You're cooked, my man. Okay?
You'll see the results obtained after this amount of reps, language islands, mass sentences, blah, blah, blah. You'll see the results so that you can tell if it was worth it or not.
I'm pretty sure if you managed to do this every day, you would definitely see some goddamn results, okay? Either you would lose your mental health, or you'd learn a language. There's pretty much only 2 options to this.
Maybe you decide that you'd rather do 3,000 hours of comprehensible input or something.
I'll be legit. I'd actually prefer 3,000 hours of comprehensible input. It's more relaxing. This is just taxing.
Language islands, mass sentences, listening and repeating. So, 100 sentences of language islands. Learning 100 sentences in a week doesn't sound crazy, right?
Yeah, that's not that crazy. Like, that's manageable.
Very doable. Those will be useful sentences that I've got in my list, so that I'm already able to speak some Japanese with that. I learned that by first memorizing the keywords with mnemonic associations.
Okay, so this is the part that I haven't calculated so far. So I've calculated the shadowing, which let's say is an hour, then the memorizing the sentence, which is say 30 minutes. But now we need to build associations for each one of those words. And remember, day one, we know none of these words. So I have to, he calls them associations or mnemonics, you know, these types of things. Basically, what this is because you don't know the word yet, you need to think of a sound like, or something in English that's similar to that, so that when you think about the word, you think about that English sentence and it reminds you of what that word is. Okay. So, for example, if I was to say, pick a word from, I don't know, Chinese, let's say 吃饭, which means to eat. So what I would do is say 吃饭. What does that sound like? It sounds like 吃, so chew maybe, and then fun. What's that sound like? Like fun. Let's chew on some fun. You know, you and me tonight, we're gonna chew on some fun. And then I'll be like, okay, how does that equal food? Well, or eating food. Well, you and me, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna chew on some fun times, and that food is you, type of thing. And then that's how I'd link it up, okay? But that's probably a terrible example, but I'm giving you an example anyway. Now, it still took me a little bit to think about that, okay? So for 100 sentences, you probably got in that sentence, at least in the first few weeks, a couple of 100 words for like each sentence, because you haven't learnt them yet, okay? So, and it's just like, you would probably spend a minimum of another 30 minutes on this. So that's your 2 hours done. You've got 1 hour on shadowing, half an hour on your sentence islands, and half an hour on mnemonics.
And then loads and loads of listening and repeating. I'll have a translation next to each sentence and I listen.
And you might be wondering about like where these sentences are coming from. This is the Mikel special. You'll see that shortly, but we're going to go through some other stuff.
And repeat each sentence as many times as necessary until I can understand them and say them, not flawlessly, but pretty well. Mass sentences. It's going to be way more, 2,000 verbs or 2,000 example sentences. And I know, well, actually, I don't know how grammar works in Japanese, but...
Okay, so as you can see, we've got no intention of learning grammar at this stage.
I want to learn the grammar with this, but what I want to learn is the basic non-conjugated version of all those verbs in a sentence. Maybe some of them will be conjugated. I don't care. It just be able to, these are the verbs, learn the verbs, that's it. Later on, I'll look.
The problem is that he's also now talking about doing associations for the verbs of those mass sentences, those 20,000 sentences. So I didn't calculate that into my original equation. So realistically, depending on how many he's doing 2,000 verbs here. He hasn't specified the time frame they need to be memorized in, maybe in 3 months, okay? So let's say you've got 2,000, we're going to divide that by 90, okay? 2,000 divided by 90, we're looking at 22 verbs associations that you need to do per day type of thing. On top of the others, I'm going to chuck, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes on top for that, okay? So we're at 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Learn each one of them in all of, for each verb.
The problem is, unless I am highly inefficient, I am unable to see how this fits into the plan of 1 to 2 hours per day. This is already over 2 hours.
Each one of those 2,000 verbs, I learn 10 or 20 different sentences, or as many conjugations there are in forms in Japanese. And for each one of them, I learn an example sentence. But I will start with just an example sentence of each one of the verbs to just get as much data as possible fast.
He's putting them into these mass sentences so that as he's shadowing, repeating after these sentences, he will hear these verbs over and over and also kind of see how they grammatically adjust themselves to the sentence. Now, overall, there's nothing wrong with this method. It's just, this is not 2 hours of work.
And then expand to the whole list. So for this, again, I will first use associations. So a couple hundred words a day, I guess, should be fine. You can do that in less than an hour.
He's saying less than an hour. I'm calculating at least an hour. But you can see already we've got kind of a similar time frame in our minds. Okay, so we've seen week 1, the plan, yeah? Now, as of week 2, 3, he really didn't follow this plan anymore. Okay, what we ended up getting was things like this short.
I just found these vocab lists. I'm going to memorize all N5 vocab this week, and 4 next week, and 3 the week after that, and so on. Going to memorize it using mnemonic associations, and then create flashcards to review it.
Now, I have no idea how many words are actually in N5, okay? So I'm literally going to Google this while making this video. So N5, number of words, Japanese. Okay, let's have a look. So that's 800 words he's proposing to memorize in a week. Okay, divide that by obviously 7. That's 114 words per day with mnemonics. I don't know if he's maintaining the original language island ones, because obviously there will be crossover, but also there will not be crossover between these. So that, like, I don't know what's happening now. Like, the original plan of following the language islands has now been ditched for basically a frequency list based on a testing system. Okay, so what we have here on the screen, okay, is realistically 10,000, he's got 500 verbs there, 2,000 verbs, I don't know, okay, like the spreadsheet started to vary week by week because he was making them as he was going, okay. Now, you're looking at the spreadsheet and you're thinking, what's going on here? So on the left, you see those clickable links? That's basically audio files for the sentences that he's learning. These sentences are basically based around those 2,000 verbs that he wanted to basically just get into his brain. And if you look over to the right-hand side, you'll see the Japanese repeated. It actually goes off. You can't see it all in this spreadsheet. And what he does is he copies that into a text-to-speech engine, gets it to export all of this as one giant audio file, which, you know, can last over an hour or whatever, and then he just listens to that while shadowing. That's pretty much how it works. Now, you'll notice, because this is Japanese, you can't exactly read that unless you've learned hiragana, katakana, and kanji and all this type of stuff, yeah? He doesn't actually learn this. In fact, he says, as part of this plan, that you will not be learning it, okay? You're going to work off the romanization, which you see on the left-hand side there. Okay, now by week 3, the plan had maybe changed again. Again, it's hard to say because there was less talk of spreadsheets, and now we're looking at Glossica. And Glossica basically does what his spreadsheets do. You'll have the text there, you'll have the romanization, the translation, and then the audio. You listen, and he does this. He just shadows. Okay, now, this is the last, I would say, true video that he made on his Japanese challenge. And what's happening here, as I previously said, is he's going to watch this podcast. And I've asked my community, the level of this podcast is somewhere between an A2 and a B1. And he's going to listen to it to, I guess, prove where he's currently at. It's kind of like when I do my Dreaming Spanish challenge, and you guys, you see me like each 50 hours where I'll listen to something, and you'll hear the audio too, and there'll be no subtitles or anything, and I'll try and translate it. And sometimes I translate it quite well, and other times I make silly mistakes, and people, you know, they drag me for it in the comment section, but, you know, that's all part of the process. And he does the same thing here, except he has English subtitles on, so that's kind of sus. But anyway, I want you to pay attention to him and the content, and I want you to watch his face as this progresses.
Okay, let's test it.
Also, I found this fucking hilarious. Like, he just sits here listening to this, doesn't even give us the audio, man, just gives us subtitles, while he also has subtitles. So I guess I should be the audio. Let's do this. It was really cold today. It was suddenly cold. It was about 13 degrees in the morning. Okay, I just spoke over him. Let's hear what he's got to say.
I need to learn the numbers.
Of course. We're up to day 21, and he forgot to learn the numbers. I would think numbers would be kind of important. Wouldn't they? Look at his facial expressions.
I don't think he said interesting. I don't think he used the word I've learned for interesting.
So he's reading the subtitles while listening to them. So that should actually give him a leg up.
I've learned omoshiri, something like that. Moshiro, yeah, that one. Arigatou gozaimasu.
I hope you guys are thoroughly enjoying the static, okay? Because I had to listen to static for friggin', like, out of that 5 hours, probably a good hour was, like, static between him taking pauses when talking or just doing stuff like this. So, appreciate the static.
今後勉強しました。
I have no idea what he tried to say then. Please tell me in the comments below if he was just attempting to repeat after them or something. Is that static getting to you yet? It must be. It must be digging into your soul by now.
Ano難しい? Chigai. Yeah,
Sorry.
I get the odd word here and there, but the thing is, I'm still not familiarized with the grammar. I still don't know how. So all the go, ga, wa, all those words, when they're all in context, it's hard to distinguish words still. And also, I don't know enough vocab, so yeah, I get a few words. Small work to do. So comprehension, 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10 still. It'll be 9.5 out of 10 in December.
Okay, so December means the end of the challenge because that's when the challenge was meant to end. So he was saying it'll be 9.5 by then, but at the moment it's a 1 out of 10. So we're 21 days in, which realistically means you're almost at a third of the way through the challenge. And you don't understand A2 to B1 level content. You should probably have done a test against A1 level content so we could get like a better judgment. But at the moment, I'm thinking like, if he did understand that, that would have been impressive, but also that would have been what you would have probably needed to have been at by this point to be able to understand this if you're to do this within 3 months. So guys, here's the things, okay, about this challenge, realistically. And I want your input on this because... One, there is no set structure to this challenge. Like, he laid out a plan in the first week, but then he did not follow that plan. It varied. Like, he even mentions using Anki and stuff. So, like, the first week, we had a very set plan, a calculation of what we were to do every single week. Then after that, we just started, you know, memorizing lists of words from the Japanese test, whatever it is called, you know, the N5, N4, N3, you know, all this type of stuff. And then after that, there was like Glossica thrown in. There was mentions of Anki. It's just like, it was a mess. It was all over the place, realistically. Now, I don't know if that was the plan. He just didn't lay it out well at the start, but like, I don't know what to follow. Additionally, he said 1 to 2 hours a day. Mathematically, it is impossible to squish everything that he was proposing to do into 1-2 hours a day. It would be more than that. It would be if I took no break at all, literally, probably not even breathe. That would be 2.5 hours of work, okay, for what he proposed. Now, there was other mentions in here where he said things such as, I'll put the recording on my my phone, and then when I'm at the gym working out, I'll just listen to it on repeat. Now, that's not study, but it is passive input. Therefore, to do this challenge properly, I would have to do that. This is actually now, if I were to do this, okay, it would be the same amount of hours that I spend on dreaming Spanish per day as I would have to spend on this. So I would be technically doing 3 hours, maybe like an hour of passive input, in order to do this. Maybe I could say, no, I can't do everything in the time frame that he said. I'd have to spend 3 hours a day, realistically, to fulfill the requirements. But if I went by the time, then I'm not actually doing what he laid out. And the sad fact of the matter is I don't have an extra 3 hours a day, okay? So at this stage, this challenge is not possible for me. Now, maybe next year I can come back and we can try this. But like, even if I did it, I realistically, you could claim either way. Like, let's say I did this challenge and I reached let's say an A2 level, okay? Which I would think would actually be quite impressive in Japanese. If I reached an A2 speaking and understanding level in 3 months, people would either say, oh, you did shit, therefore you didn't follow his method, or they would say, you did too well because you modified his method. So it's like, there's no way to successfully do this, realistically. And the only thing I could do is like literally repeat what he did for those 21 days, but it's just scatterbrained, and in fact, he doesn't record what he does all the days. So, yeah, I don't think this challenge is possible, guys. I'm going to be completely legitimate. Like, it's not possible based on the original conditions of the challenge. Now, the methods that he uses, and, the associations, the mnemonics, the use of Glossica, the use of, AI to a degree, and audio, like text-to-speech, definitely, all this type of stuff, that is all valid. Language learning methods, totally valid. But he's speaking about it and using it in such a way that it's just like, it can't be done. And if it could be done, he would have did it already. Like, he would have done it already. Did it. Like, at least not for Japanese. Now, what I'm actually thinking, legitimately, is that this might be possible for someone like him when doing a Romance language. Because he already speaks Romance languages. So this would actually be quite efficient for learning a Romance language, because of the relationship between the languages, because you don't need to learn a new script, because you're not focusing on grammar. You can kind of pull on the grammar of the languages you already understand. You can recognize the slight variations and differences, stuff like that. It would possibly work for him in a Germanic language, because he speaks English and to a degree German. So for these closely related languages, this would probably be a very efficient way to get forward and make progress. But Japanese was just... it was just a bad idea. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think, and I hope you enjoyed your Mikel CI or not CI input for the day. And I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, I assume you're doing the Mikel 3-month challenge.